Welcome to House of Track. I'm your host, David Ribich. Each episode, we have conversations around the sport of track and field with the people who make it so compelling to follow. At House of Track, we're focused on the people who make this sport so great and creating a space of connection within the track and field community. Wherever you're listening from, we're glad you're here. If you enjoy this episode, consider following us on socials at houseoftrack.hot. Today we're joined, or I should say we're sitting and kicking it, with Josh Kerr, whose resume would be impressive if it were spread across multiple athletes. But alas, I will read the accolades. According to an article released in September of 2014, Josh Kerr of Edinburgh AC came home with 2 golds after completing a remarkable double in the 1500 meters and the 3000 meters. Josh won the 1500 meters on Saturday in 3:52.46 to set a Scottish age group record U17 level and end the run of a mark set by Glenn Stewart some 27 years ago. It took him to the top of the British U17 rankings. However, how could the Edinburgh AC athlete follow that? Josh went out late on Sunday afternoon at Bedford and in the final event of the weekend clinched the 3,000-meter title with an impressive run of 8:35.5. Josh ended his summer season with a couple of superb performances on the track in England, and it wasn't much different on the mud of Bella Houston come November. The Edinburgh AC teenager and recent recruit for the Scottish Athletics Youth Academy after British title wins at the 1500 meters and 3000 meters in September aimed the short course Scottish Championship over 3K in Glasgow at U17 level. And that early momentum never really stopped. Since then, Kerr has become the only athlete over 1,500 meters to make every global final from 2019 through 2025. He claimed the World Championship gold in 2023, added 2 Olympic medals, 2 indoor world titles, and owns national records across 4 events, including the world best over 2 miles. Most recently, he announced that on July 18th, 2026, he will take his shot at what many consider the hardest record in track and field, the men's mile world record, Project 222 with Brooks Running. Josh, how are we doing? Are you still there? Did you snooze through that?
Yeah, no, I'm here, lad. I just didn't know if you needed me for this conversation. No, it's good. It's good to start with that stuff, man. That's how I didn't just kind of turn up to college and get good at running. I've been doing this for a long time, and so that short course win was maybe overshadowed after what I've done in my later career, but it was a big deal back then. So I'm thankful you brought it up.
Of course, and I feel like most often people talk about your Olympic medals and your world indoor titles, but it starts at the grassroots there in Edinburgh. So for me, it's always funny to banter about and kind of look at those old photos. But I kind of want to start with a little bit of banter just to, get you warmed up a little bit. For those listening at home that don't know, Josh and I have a relatively outstanding relationship that is relatively one-sided. Relatively, I just shoot Josh texts and he replies when he may be, and that's fine and that's acceptable. But no, I kind of want to just check in on you with the 3,000 meter world indoor title. That was a really important win for you, coming back after a season-ending injury in Tokyo. But knowing your stance on indoor track, can we now consider World Indoor Championships a proper World World Championship?
They're the most important event the track and field has right now, I would say. I think it's no, and going back to your earlier point, Dave, we spent a lovely amount of time at my wedding in December. And yes, I'm not great at texting, but that's not a you thing. That's a worldwide thing. I just it's nice to chat up with friends now. So, I feel very nostalgic chatting to you over a podcast. So it's pretty exciting. You've definitely upgraded. I was the one holding you back, obviously. You've upgraded massively. You're able to bring on good guests, and I'm here to figure out what the heck's going on, to be honest. So yeah, I think I've had some solid results over the past few years, but you've just been slowly building this empire. So it's been nice to see.
Well, the irony is, my podcast empire has grown, but you won your first world championship as I was no longer on the team and sit and kick was over.
You left me, mate. I don't want to hear any about me leaving you. So I've been exactly where I've lived for the last 7 years. You left me, lad.
That's fair enough. Um, yeah, let's kind of catch up a little bit with this whole announcement around Project 222. I know you've been on an absolute tear from a media perspective. There's been articles through New York Times. There's been catch-ups there with Sidious Mag. Let's Run had a good interview with you, and article release around kind of like the logistics around Project 222. Is it 222 or 222?
Yeah, well, I mean, either works really. The sentiment obviously is 222 seconds, but 222 has a lot of like amazing kind of connotations to it, positive connotations about, you're exactly where you're supposed to be kind of thing. And I've just been very attracted to that number, and the idea is that you kind of hit what you look at, and so that's anything in that 342 range is going to be the goal, knowing that even if it's 342.99, it's still a world record. So it's just yeah, it's a lot to do with that, and so Project 222, 222 seconds, any of that really works.
Nice. Is there anything that's been missed so far in some of the media coverage, and or anything that's really personal or sentimental to you around this record that you feel like, if you were to be like Josh Kerr in this, what that represents?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it's been kind of grueling. I think it's important, again, like if you want to promote the sport and you want to create moments and do the stuff, like it's kind of part and parcel of the job. Like if you look at any other, individual sports, the media, you have to do so much, and everyone does stuff on their own as well as kind of working with different outlets, and the sport asks a lot from them. I wouldn't say the sport asks a lot from us, and so it is part of my job to go out and promote and tell people it's going to take 3.5 minutes of your day, come watch history, or what I hope history will look like. And so it has been like special, as much as I've wanted to kind of get the word out, and I think that for this year especially, track deserves that. I think we had such great momentum running as a sport. It's had such great momentum over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe since COVID. And so it's our job to scream from the rooftops that what we're doing over here is exciting. Yeah, from a more personal standpoint, yeah, I think I've tried to get it across as much as possible. Like I'm doing this because I'm ready to go after this part of the sport. This is an old record, and I think the most important one that the sport has right now to go after. There's a lot of history with the 100 and the marathon and the mile, and so I'm not quick enough to run the 100, and I don't quite have the legs for the marathon right now. So this is part of my pursuit of etching my name in history, really.
And when you talk about that history too, what's really cool about it is there have been Brits in the past that have owned this world record for a short period of time, but this is one of the longest stints in which the record hasn't been broken. So when you're looking at the company of names that you're in, that is Seb Coe, Roger Bannister, Steve Cram. Am I forgetting anyone?
Ovet, yeah.
Ovet, that's right. Ovet. Yeah, how could I forget? So when you talk about that company, right, like it's interesting because you're almost forgetting the modern era when you mention those. Like you're forgetting the Mo Farah. He still ran 327, 328. I mean, you would know those records more than I would. Or those past records. So for you, when those names and conversations kind of get brought up and your name is there, just knowing you, a large portion of your identity within the sport in a good way is built around leaving a lasting legacy, and around what that means. And now here we are, 2026, and you're legitimately a contender for the world record. Stripping it back, in 2017, you qualified for your first senior world championship, knocked out the first round. 9 years later, you're going after a world record in that exact stadium. Is this a full circle moment, or is this just a continuation of that legacy?
London right now is bidding for the World Championships in 2029. I think that will feel more like a full circle moment to me than this. I think this is like, I've been able to go to London and race over the mile and the Emsley Car Mile, and I ran last year, and I haven't quite put a performance together in front of a British crowd that I'm incredibly happy with. I mean, I won my world title, my indoor world title, my first one, in front of a Scottish crowd, which was huge. But there's a huge difference in how you can affect a population with a 60,000 person stadium versus a 3,000 person stadium, say. So I do think like what I'm trying to create is moments for that next generation, like leaving that legacy and hopefully leaving the sport in a better place than I found it, is kind of the overall idea of like, look, no one needs to believe me that I think I can run this record. I believe I can run this record. I think if I get the camp right, I think I've been in shape for it before, and I want to, in 20 years' time, look back and listen to athletes going after this world record saying that they were in the stadium when it happened. Like, I was, hopefully booting the door off the hinges of this record, and having a bunch of Brits and Europeans follow my footsteps. And so it takes that. It was the same with Crammy, or it was more the same with Seb Cohen and Ovett. Like they changed the record changed hands like 3 times in a week. Crammy was the last Brit to hold the record, and I was able to grab the British record off of him in 2024 at Pre. And so if I want to be in this conversation, with those guys and with Mo Farah, like all of them have world records, and all of them have either world records or Olympic gold medals and things like that. And so I have a great CV at baseline, but I don't think I'm on their level yet. So to be in that conversation firmly, I think it's a stepping stone for sure.
And what's great about this too is I think that for those that have followed you since the earliest parts of your career, there's a consistent through line in this level of confidence. Now, where it gets interesting is this level of confidence that you've always had within yourself, within your team, within your abilities, just gets amplified as more and more outlets pick it up, and then it gets broadcasted to more and more people. And so for you, when you get this record, you talk greatly about the community and the influence in which you may have with your legacy for the next generation of athletes. And I think that's not necessarily construed in media, but you are a loud, competitive athlete and you want to win, but you want to win for more than just yourself. So with your family also kind of being in that stadium, likely being in the stadium there in Glasgow, and I know they travel to every major championship with you, how fun is it, in all of these world championship attempts and Olympic championships and world record attempts? How fun is it to have your family there side by side?
Yeah, it's everything, man. I think, over the last 3 years, I've made a lot of differences with, what I'm doing and who's with me, because, I run a tough schedule. Like I'm not with my teammates all the time. And so, with the Grand Slam stuff is kind of where everything kicked off with that. And, there's only 8 athletes in each meet. And so, most of them or all of them are on different teams, and so it's difficult to create a schedule and a group of people around you. And so I turned to my family and I said, look, I'd love for you to kind of join me on this a little bit more intensely. And my team grew a little bit and we travel pretty deep because we want to just have things covered. And so if I'm turning up to a race and I'm healthy, I'm good to go, like I feel like the results kind of taken care of. Like it's, I'm in my zone and everyone does their job, and it's so fun. Like even Tokyo, like, that was probably the lowest moment of my professional career from a result standpoint, but it wasn't a bad trip. Like we learned so much from that. Like my whole team was dialed. Like the end of result was not a good reflection on how that previous 6-week build had looked. And I genuinely think that 3K title I won a couple of weeks ago was a reflection on the Tokyo fitness more than anything else. Like it was almost just like scraping the bottom of the can of what that fitness looked like. And yeah, I've tried to build that over the last few years because I've realized that's where my happiness is, win, lose or draw, like I'm going to be surrounded by great people. And I've lost a lot in the last year through injuries, illness, things that have happened. And it's probably the happiest I've walked off the track each time. So yeah, I think that's what I kind of had to reflect on after 2023, because your world kind of gets flipped on its head after winning a world title and kind of getting exposed to the public a little bit more. Because more opinions is not more love, man. More opinions is more opinions.
Wow, that's deep. Do you want me to have that be like your like a Hallmark card? Is that kind of what you're
on a shirt, lad.
If I'm looking back at your competitive season bests and your results, it's interesting because starting in 2019, that was your first starting year as a pro. Obviously, there's no races in 2020, but not only have you kind of advanced and built out this network around yourself from a personnel perspective, right? Like when you're saying like your team, but your races have become more and more selective and more dialed. You know, in 2019, you would be doing a Stumptown Twilight or a Portland Track Festival, or you would be doing an Azusa Pacific 800-meter race. What is some of that evolution of your competitiveness that has resulted in you being able to now, like you hate rust busters? Those are pretty much irrelevant to you at this point.
Yeah, I think how you do one thing is how you do everything, and so I'm not someone that likes to give excuses for things that haven't happened yet, and so yeah, I famously dislike Rustbusters. I think that I understand the concept, and I think in theory, like when you listen to this, like if you think Rustbusters is a good thing, like I appreciate that's your view.
A
I
lot of
just
maturity too, as well, growing in the last 5 years.
it's like a waste of time. Like I'm not here to waste my time. Like I don't want to fly somewhere and, fly my whole team out and spend thousands of dollars to go and give myself a built-in excuse of, if I muck up my first race of the season, that's not because of rust. It's because, I did something wrong, I think. I mean, everyone has different views. Again, this is just my views on my career. And so, yeah, I think I take that extremely seriously. So yeah, I do think. I mean, the kind of like U.S. based races, the Portlands and the Californias, the Sound Running meets are super useful and super like I think they're great meets. I think more recently I haven't really had the time for them. I think I might a little bit more this year. I'm finalizing the scheduling on the first couple of meets of the year, and I think they will be US based. From what I gather from the conversations with Danny and Julian, so I think they are great. I'm not going there to bust Russ. I'm going there for a reason. Obviously the be all end all of the season is going to be this world record attempt, so everything's going to be built around that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just don't. I don't know, Dave. I don't know. You know me.
I know you.
What
Yeah.
what your thoughts on Rustbusters? I think the sport can just be a little bit too soft sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you have a sport like track and field that is so approachable and so like there's not another sport in the world where, well, maybe there are and I'm just super naive, but I'll just speak from it in like my perspective. Like you go to a race in California and you're an arm's reach and you paid $5 or you didn't even pay to get in to Olympic gold medalists and world record holders. And so it's weird because it's like the sport of track and field is elevated by the competition, not necessarily the venue. You go into Madison Square Garden and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in Madison Square Garden. You don't even care what teams are playing. You're just like, this is the stadium, this is the vibe, and performance kind of warrants itself in those spaces because of the prestige that location has. And that's why I have tremendous respect for the world record attempt, because you say you're going to do it in front of one of the most iconic stadiums in the world, 60,000 fans. Like that in itself warrants good results, right? Regardless of weather, regardless of however. So I find it difficult when there's, when you're rust busting at the professional level at a meet that has more athletes than it has spectators, because that doesn't really feel professional at all. The performance doesn't feel professional. The environment doesn't feel professional. And this also is coming from somebody that had, in my professional experience, more bad races than good races. But I think that my best races were the ones where it was just like the end result in like what you said is already getting taken care of, because I'm like, oh, I'm on the start line without any curiosity of how bad I'm going to do. It's more like how curious of like, how good am I going to be? Like I don't want to go into a race, or I didn't want to go into a race and think like, oh man, my PR is 335. If I run 344, I'm going to be in great shape. Like that doesn't feel genuine. And it feels like you're saying, like almost like an excuse or a cop out before it gets going. But what's good is I feel like Danny's training's really good and Danny's precision's really good. So there's a lot of variables, and I think to each their own. Every athlete's individual, but it's fascinating because truly your progression as the way that you operate outside the sport has professionalized, and then the way in which you compete has also professionalized. And I think those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right.
I honestly just kind of word vomited it out, but yeah, that's my.
I think that's what podcasts are, lad. I don't know anymore. I think that's where I get most of my news media is podcasts and listening to you guys chat pish. I'll chat some pish myself and try and see if I can I don't know, like help. I think that, again, I'm 8 years into professional career. I've ran, for the last 19 years of my life. And so if I'm having to turn up to a race and like learn from a baseline standpoint, it's like I'm doing something wrong. But I think over time, like in the NCAA, like you should race as much as you can and learn as much as you can so that when you get to the professional level, you have this baseline of knowledge that you can go, well, I've done this a million times and these are all the variables I've dealt with and this is how I respond to variables. And I think you learn every time you go out there, but I do think like your floor should not be set lower just because it's your first race of the season. I don't
Yeah,
think.
that's fair. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like it's like you're saying like the win for the World Indoor Championships over 3,000 meters is just a culmination and continuation of your fitness there in October. Like you kind of pick up where you left off in a way.
Yeah, you try to, and I think it's the way you approach training as well. Is like if you approach training like it's another training day, and then you approach race day like completely different. Like I understand why you need to rust bus, but if you approach training like you do racing, it should be similar-ish. And yeah, everyone's different, but that's my opinion on it. And yeah, I think I've had success with it, but everyone should just stick to what
Stick,
works
yeah,
for 'em.
yeah, marginal success.
Yeah, yeah. Mate, why I'm asking, I have a couple questions for you, Dave. So you're growing the facial hair, that the hair is getting slicked back. I think, you're starting to look a little bit more like ex-coaches, that your dad. What's the thought process with it? Is there any connection?
Oh, to my dad or coaching?
Both.
Both. I am my father's son. Um, is there any connection to the look? No. I mean, you know me. I'm an experimental guy.
Yeah.
I've I've had hairstyles of perms and man buns, and at the end of the day, it's just hair.
What are your thoughts on my slick back?
I've seen better. I've seen better slick backs. I think it's a good look. Here's
It's
the thing, though.
aerodynamic, lad.
It's aerodynamic, and I will admit that on the old Sit and Kick Instagram account, I did offer the option for people that still follow the account for some reason to ask questions. So one of those questions that they asked was around aerodynamics for the world record attempt, if you're going to be completely bald or shaved cheeks or whatever. But I'm assuming you keep the look.
What'd you think? I'm taking opinions. We're still 3 months out.
We could run a poll, but for me personally, I think that the look in which you've built around the glasses and beard are relatively iconic. So, when we think of James Harden, have you ever seen him without a beard?
I mean, I'm
Big.
keeping the beard, that's for sure.
Okay. I
I
would
kind of
say
don't know
that the
who
slick
best
back
believe
look,
I didn't wear the glasses.
where the slick back look is tricky for me is when you have such long hair on the top and shaved sides, you have to get your hair done up to look good. And then if like you wake up in the morning, I guarantee your hair does not look good. You know,
Why do you think I'm wearing a hat right now, fella?
I know that's a kind of hairstyle that you have to have done the right way or you look like a goof. So for me, this is the I am put together enough to be presentable at all hours of the day. I've got long enough. My hair was longer than this. My hair was touching my shoulders again. I just got it cut last week. So I feel clean with this. Maybe I'm interviewing for some roles. Maybe I'm, actively just being more professional. Maybe I want to look good for this podcast. I'm a
You interviewing for the new Brooks assistant coach's job?
I will not be. I will not be. No,
Why?
that looks like a great gig though.
It does look good.
Yeah, that looks like a great gig. You can check it out on Brooks Running. I think I honestly found that job listing within an hour of it getting posted.
And you were like, I would love to be Josh's boss.
I would love to be in sports marketing and be Josh's boss. Unfortunately, 1099s aren't in my my payroll anymore. Big corporate guy on this side. But so for me, yeah, the evolution of me not being an athlete, I feel like is I can experiment with my hair, my facial hair, and then I can just go to work. And if I wear my glasses and I have a mustache, I do sometimes look like Ned Flanders, which is a Simpsons character, if you know who that is. So it's fine. But that's really, out of all the burning questions that you've had since we haven't spoken together in 5 years, that's the question you ask, is about my hair and face.
Hey, we had a lovely time in the Dominican Republic in December, I think you'll find.
We did. It
I
was a
asked
lovely
you all the
wedding.
questions I needed to ask you.
That's all. Speaking of, I'm going to throw in a little banter question that we got submitted from an old school uh, fan of Sit and Kick that was on our, remember our finale episode where we brought on fans and we just kind of like chatted with them?
Yeah.
So this guy was in that, and his name's Ian. So I'm going to give Ian the shout out. He said, 6 years ago, during the Sit and Kick finale, I asked Josh if he made fun of David for always bringing up his girlfriend because Josh was too embarrassed by his girlfriend to ever bring her up. Since then, David upgraded to a full marriage while Josh's engagement has lasted longer than some pro contracts. What's the race strategy here, Josh?
You got to go a full Olympic cycle to know who you are, man. Yeah. 4 years of work, and then you finally make it to the Olympics. The Olympics doesn't come around every couple of years, mate. That's the best I've got for you.
Honestly, that's a great response. You can also add that you are properly married now.
I am. I'm a married man. I'm spoken for. So don't be asking me any questions about that.
Okay, let's go back in time a little bit. And I kind of teed this up to you early, but I want to, when you talk about how your performances elevate the next generation of athlete, I think that's a really, really big mark because, that's, I think, where you and I differ.
You hate the next generation.
I hate the next I hate the next generation.
Yeah.
Nobody clip that. No, I love the next generation. And I think that for me, it's one of those things where I use public speaking or podcasts or media or something that's more approachable or tangible to just like I love doing speaking engagements. Like I have a call tomorrow that I might be doing a speaking engagement at a running camp for the full week while you're in London, and I might be having to use Starlink satellite to watch your race live, So it's one of those things where I've always found that like my effort in helping the next generation is public speaking, because I enjoy doing that. Your impact on the next generation is breaking world records. And so to each their own, one of them might have, I think you've probably going to reach more people in that stadium than I've ever reached in my life. And that's cool. But I think what's cool about it though, is the sentiment remains the same. When you say, if one kid in the stands was there and then they can achieve or they can pursue or they can elevate the next generation themselves, like I think that's what's really powerful. If you could talk to 2017 Josh after he failed to advance in his first round of his first senior championships, what would you say to him? And do you think that 2017 version of yourself would like who you are today?
Yeah, he'd love it.
He'd love it.
Yeah, he'd love it because it's like, I mean, what I would say to him back then, I mean, I have like what I would say to the general population that runs is like take notes, like write down as much as you can information and go back and look at your perspective from previous years and see how much you've developed and changed and learned from those experiences. But I mean, if I was to go back there and speak to him now, I would just say, stay hungry, stay curious. I think those are two things that I feel like I'm good at, that if I stay like that now, I can continue to progress. I think it's important to be curious in what you're doing and almost become obsessive. I've definitely become obsessive over stuff as the years progress, but staying hungry and fighting for your position as a professional track and field athlete. Like I'm not fighting against like specific people to keep my contract. I'm fighting against previous years of how I've impressed, companies to keep pushing this professional career on. How can I push on that guy? So yeah, it's and then it's just a hunger and love for it, really. And so yeah, I would have that conversation about how to keep exploring, and hopefully I could have got to where I got to 4 years ago, maybe a little bit earlier, but I wouldn't change anything. I think everything happens to you for a reason. I think it happens to you, it happens for you, not to you. And so that's kind of the perspective I've had to have over the last couple of years with certain goals that I haven't hit yet. And I think it's just continuing to be fuel for the fire. And that's what 2017 was. If 2017 didn't happen, I wouldn't have made the final in 2019. It's you kind of have to experience the dance before you can really understand the work you need to put in to get to the kind of highs.
And I'm sure too, when we think just even in the last calendar year, the low of Tokyo to the high of Poland is massive. That's the pendulum swing of the sport.
Yeah, it was. And it is, and it still is. I'm still riding that high. I think I promised myself after Worlds in 2025 in Tokyo, like this isn't how I'm going to be remembered. Was kind of my sentiment of like, no one cares right now, and as in like not the world, but like no one's gonna help you here. You gotta set a goal and get back to work. And if you want to be remembered as the guy that made lots of finals and limped through his last final, then that's completely fine. And I feel like I've earned that. Like I've earned the consistency guy and good at big majors guy, but like I haven't earned the like he was the best of his generation yet. And so if it's like, how do you want to be remembered? Get back to work. That's kind of how I view it. And you have to have that relentlessness when the sport moved on. If I won, in 5 months ago and I didn't even make the team in indoors, people would have forgotten about me by now. And so I have to stay hungry.
Yeah, and you've made mention too that this sport has very short-term memory. And I think that's the dichotomy of the sport, where it has short-term memory, but legends last forever. And so when we enter into this era, you're now in company, and if not on the Mount Rushmore, as it currently stands, of some of the greatest middle distance runners of our generation. And I say that more of like as a fan of the sport, but also as a friend, just because of like you say, the consistency's there. Like you've made every world final attempt that you've gone after since 2019, and you're the only one to do that. Now, when we're looking at a sport, this is kind of two-part. Now we're just kind of free-flowing, but two-part. When you're looking at yourself as an athlete, you're not getting younger. But when the sport in itself, no offense if that's a shock to you,
Everyone's getting older every day, man.
everyone's getting older every day. But if we're comparing 2016 Olympic team to 2024 Olympic team, I'll bring it down just to the US. So over an 8-year swing, the 2016 men's distance team and women's distance team, it was like 1 in 5 athletes were 25 or younger. Okay, so 1 in 5, 20% of the US Olympians in Rio were under the age of 25. We move on to Paris 2024, 1 in 2, 50% of American Olympians on track and field for distance were under the age of 25. So how do you, as an aging athlete, stay incredibly competitive and at the peak and top of the game against these young athletes that are coming out of the woodworks of just like, they're ready to go right away?
I'll take your stat and I'll stat you back, fella. Nick Willis won 2 Olympic medals, 8 years apart. That's all I've got for you. So I would say with a 7-year span, your boy's going to be fine, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is about it with as the sport grows and understands more about training and understands more about nutrition and like the effort that I put in with all of it recovery wise and everything, I feel way better now than I did 3 or 4 years ago. I could get away with a lot like more back then for sure, but it's a give and take. I don't believe it's a young man's game. I believe it's the athlete that kind of gives the most. Can definitely reap those benefits. So it's a balance. Like you can get dogged on stats a little bit, and everyone knows kind of the experience over like naivety is going to win, as long as you can back it up with the right training. And so I've been able to train. I've trained the same mileage and the same way for the last 7 years, and I'm getting the most out of my sessions now. And so I think I would say my biggest like attribute and the reason that I've been able to have the success I have is I am not doing outstanding things. I'm doing the same mundane kind of bullshit what I need to do every year, and it's been consistent for a very long time. And so I think consistency beats kind of your one-off couple year guys that are on fire really. So I don't know. I think maybe I'm just giving myself excuses.
No, I wouldn't say that you have excuses with saying that, but I think that there's an interesting parallel in, as athletes get older, things are also changing. So like in programming, I'm going to increase my mileage by 5% for the next season. I'm going to increase my mileage for 5% for next season. But why? You're still doing the same event, right? And I think I got caught up in that as an athlete myself. I think that's one of the reasons where fatigue set in, and injuries were just reoccurring. if you're doing the same mundane things, would you say that for the most part, the biggest changes that you made were outside your training, not necessarily your training itself?
Um, I would say I would say Danny's kind of done these like small development things. So Danny's like, if you were to see my team of people, like say it's like this, let's call it a pyramid scheme, right?
Yeah,
So
you've always been good with diagrams.
right, so Danny's the head of everything, and so he's in charge and understands and gets kind of referred to by everyone, and so a lot of it is his. I mean, it's his kind of almost masterpiece where it's like, okay, I think we've invested a lot more in the weight room over the past 4 or 5 years. I think that's been a huge difference. I think my work with Dr. Kyle, with from a nutrition standpoint, and then bringing Jamil on full time, that's been a huge difference. I think bringing on Nicole and kind of lowering my cognitive load, but also having great output for the brands that we work with is huge. I think everything that I've done and the effort that Julian puts in around everything has been huge. I think Sarah's put in a massive amount of work. And this is just like over the past 4 or 5 years. And then you throw in, my mom's been with me a bunch.
Since birth.
Mate, I left for a bit and then I was like, hey, I'd love to hang out more. And
I
so,
mean, your mom's incredible. Your mom's honestly one of like my favorite people to see at an
yeah,
event.
she's been like, I mean, she's been behind the scenes on a lot of stuff for a long time, but like bringing her kind of to the forefront of medical kind of staff. And I think throwing all that stuff together, you're going to find progress. But at the end of the day, like, you can eat the best and get the best recovery in, but if you don't train well, like it's not going to work. And so, yeah, I've just kind of referenced Danny through all of it and just gone, and Julian especially as well, like, what do we think about this and what do we think about this? Is it like, as kind of everything grows more whenever you kind of win big races, like, the pressure is growing and contracts grow, and then you're dealing with all these different people, and so everything is always kind of developing and changing. And so I'd say, as much as I'm saying I do the same stuff every year, like Danny's always changing stuff,
Yep.
but my mileage has stayed very similar. And so I'm not a more is more kind of guy. Like, I want to get 5% here or that. It's like, where are you pulling that other five? Where are you pulling that 5% from? And I think I'm at a point now where I'm kind of at capacity, with everything. And so, yeah, the training is kind of where it's at now.
You're not missing one more team personnel. You're not missing one funny guy. You're not trying to hire out a funny guy. There's no applications pending for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you know a guy, I would say fire him my way, but
I don't know anyone more hilarious than me. No, sorry.
that's fair.
But it's cool too because a lot of these people that you mentioned when you named Sarah, Danny, Jill, give the name shout out with it. Julian, Nicole, the new guy you brought on, what's his name?
Jamil.
Jamil. I don't think I've met him.
He was
But
at the wedding. Dr. Kyle too, yeah.
and Dr. Kyle, what's so good though about like this is these are a lot of the same people that you were, like you're saying, you were working with and have worked with for nearly a decade at this point. And all of these people have your best interest in mind. Like you are the priority. And then you can have like priority output. Like you can have like, I want to go after world record. I want to go after world championship. And there's a lot of interesting things with the sport where I feel like, and you could probably attest to this more than it, but this is going to be from like a public perception, right? You're a louder athlete. You shoot your shot, you talk your talk, you back it up for the most part. There's some, little one-off clips where you can't, back it up. But there's a perception around yes men, right? But the farther you get in the sport, any sport, or at the higher you get in anything, the more important it is to have yes man that have your best interest in mind, that they don't feed off of whatever it is you're producing, and they can still prioritize you because the louder you are, the more visible you are, and the more public you are, and the more of a household name you are, inherently the more no men there are going to be saying you can't do this, or this is the wrong way, or what are you doing, and why are you doing? And so it bothers me from a fan perspective when athletes get to a level and kind of get teared down by the masses of being no men, when the argument is they have too many yes men. I go, they need yes man to even stay afloat with all this banter. It's crazy.
It's a weird one, mate. I think I mean I've spoken about it a little bit. I think, I'm very much in the camp of like post and ghost. I'm not like I haven't
Post and
scrolled
ghost.
I haven't
Nice.
scrolled for probably, it used to be around like big competitions, so I'd have my burner and I'd be in my bubble, and then I realized like I'm having great success with this. Like, yeah, like the more you're exposed and the more you come out and say your goals, like the more opinions there are, and some of them are valid, like the opinions are valid, and I love seeing all the kind of interactions we get, but like it's not mine, like it's not helpful for me and to get to where I need to be, and so it's definitely trying to take a step back from that and just go, look, these, like, I'm coming out and telling you my goal is not to get your opinion, but to tell you, listen, buy a ticket for London. I'm going to be, putting everything I can to be in the best shape possible. Everything is around being in the best mile shape possible on July 18th, 2026 in the London Diamond League. And I think that means I'm going to run a world record, just to let you know. And so, yes, at baseline, you can go, well, I'm going to give my opinion on this. And I think you should, like, give me your opinion. And if you're right, that's great. If you're wrong, let's chat about it. But it's not, I don't have enough time in my day to listen to opinions of people that I don't know yet, and so I do have a lot of people in my circle that help me, but it's more of a sounding board than anything else. Is what I'm kind of coming to. Is like, no, I don't have uh, yes men or women around me. I have like amazing people at what they do, and I come up with so many bullshit ideas. Like, you don't understand. Like, I every day I have a new idea, and so
Oh,
this is
I
one.
have an idea.
This one is being able to go through the whole sounding board, and everyone's like, "This is a great idea," and I'm like, "Wow, I haven't had a good idea in ages." And so, like, it's so good to have all you guys behind me. So, yeah, I think it's important to just have good people around you, and like to even bring my mom in. Like, no one wants me to have more selflessly have more enjoyment in my day to day career as she does. And there's no ill intent. It's not like, not to say anyone has any ill intentions, but you want to get down to the pure people in your sport and the pure people in your circle. And that's what I feel like I've been able to develop over the last 7, 8 years. And so having her at the kind of baseline of that is huge. But yeah, I think it's a weird sport, man. I think, without a team sport, people forget about you very quickly. And I think, at this point where I'm really peaking my career, like I have to go after the big stuff, or else, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time.
Yeah. And I think that it's too, like, if we want to try to pivot that from your camp to a little bit more of like the brand activation from this, like you are not on the same contract that you were on when you signed on with Brooks, because you also, well, okay, I don't know. You better, if you, I'm not, okay, don't give me that look. For those at home, Josh gives me a little eyebrow raise. What I'm getting to, Josh, is the value that you have with Brooks now as an athlete is very different than the value that you had in 2018. Well, I
Yes.
didn't even realize the Brooks hat that you had on. Genuinely,
This is the
I
movement collections, the new way they're doing their branding for their comfort collection. It's pretty cool.
wow. See, brand advocate here, brand ambassador for Brooks Running. Go place. What is it? Run there.
Let's run there.
Let's see. He even knows the motto.
Of course I do.
So when
Live
it
and
comes
breathe it,
to
mate.
that form of a commitment, right, and that form of the relationship building, how have you navigated negotiations? Obviously, we're not getting into the NDA details, but the negotiation aspects. No, sorry,
How much
the
fucking money do you make? Is that
how
what
much
you're
money do you make? That's,
asking?
bottom line, I need to know if I was a business expense or a
Uh,
tax write-off,
yeah.
No. So for you, when we're looking at the ways in which you're elevating the brand, you're worth more than you were 7 years ago. You're worth more than you were 2 years ago. How have you handled that form of relationships with Brooks as you're both now elevating yourself as an athlete and then elevating Brooks as a brand?
It's a good question. Yeah, I
Am I
think.
asking better questions than anyone has ever asked you? Is that what I'm getting into?
I mean, there's some dance around for sure. I'm unsure. I'll be interested. It would be very interesting. I'm unsure if there'll be NDAs around this world record attempt. I hope there's not. Um, I think we're kind of in discussions with that a little bit. Because I would love for people to see how much Brooks are investing in performance product and like giving back to the professional athletes. And it's such a cool brand to run for, man. Like legitimately, like I went to Brooks Sports Marketing and I said, like, I pitched this whole idea. I had a presentation. It looked sick. Nicole helped me with it.
I was gonna say you didn't make it. I know that.
My PR team made it, but like they didn't make it. Well, I gave them the pitch and
Big
they
idea guy.
presentation form. I came up with 222. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so and I pitched it to him, and I was being completely honest, and it was a room full of Brooks people and Danny and Julian, and I just said, look, like, you said you wanna make the best product in the world. I think I can be the best athlete in the world, and I think I can represent that really well with this huge goal of mine. Like, what do you think? And the support I've had from them on it has just like, and I know I get paid to say this, and so it does sound slightly less authentic, but like I will be showing a lot of this process, and with product and with sports marketing, and and the investment they put behind what we're doing. It's life changing, man. Like it truly is, and I think people need to start understanding that, like the investment they've put in athletes over the past 3 or 4 years at the highest level, from road to track to like I personally think is they're really making grinds on showing that the products are amazing and that they're ready to invest in a sport that um I think deserves it. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's been a cool process, and I've had great relationships with them for a long time. And yeah, I renegotiated my contract in 2024, a little bit before the Olympics. Yeah, I will be with them for the rest of my career, and so I'm very, very proud to say that.
That's awesome. How long was your original contract in 2018? Was it up until 2024? Was that your first contract negotiation?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it was.
Yeah. Are you allowed to disclose that?
I don't know. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a long contract coming out of college. I was given a lot of job security and freedom, and they wanted, I was able to just, train under Danny. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to train under Danny and be with the beast and try and find results. And then over the past 8 years, the investment and the understanding of the sport from Brooks itself has just been huge and developed over years, at the same rate, or if not faster than I'm trying to produce results for him. So I just have to keep following that, really.
Yeah, if we're looking at shares, I think that's gone up from like 180 a share to 492 with the parent brand of Berkshire Hathaway. So that in itself, good place to be, good place to invest. So I want to talk about another world record, which I'll be curious to know. And maybe this is our little segue into a little bit of a revival of a few banterable questions that really aren't that banterable. Because, at the end of every episode, we typically, banter about. But if you were to assemble a 4x mile world record attempt with any nationality of athlete, just for those at home, in order for it to qualify as a world record, you have to have 4 athletes representing the same nationality to be considered a approved, ratified world record. If not, it would be considered quote unquote a world best. Right now, the world record in the mile is set by Team Ireland, Eamon Coghlan, Marcus O'Sullivan, Frank O'Mara, and Ray Flynn. Shout out Ray Flynn. Set on August 17th, 1985 in Dublin, which I think is cool. Ireland was able to set it in Ireland. They set that record at 15:49. I'm giving you some time to think because I'm just talking out loud about it. But for you, if you were to take nationality aside, who would you assemble on your 4x mile world record attempt, in what order?
I think if you're asking if we can run fast in 15:49,
You could do it with anyone.
I would like my teammates.
Knew you would say that.
Like I think we would go out there and rock some worlds. I mean, if I can bosh out at 3:42, then these boys just need to not go too far over 4. But if you're asking for the fastest 4x mile in history,
Yeah, let's go fastest 4x mile in history in quote unquote right now, the greatest middle distance era.
Could I run more than one leg?
Respectfully, for your ego, I'm going to say no. I want to give some shout out to, which in a rare attempt, shout out to some of like the good competitors that you've had, that you would want to be on this world record relay with.
Okay, I would say me, Jake Whiteman. I would say me, Jake Whiteman, Neil Gurley, and Chris O'Hare.
If I could have placed money bets, I would have said he's going to start with the Brooks Beasts. He's going to then second with the Team Scotland. And then third, he's absolutely not going to mention anybody that I think he would mention. So the team that I would assemble that would absolutely destroy that team is no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that
No,
to you.
say it. Go on.
Well, I think that in common banter, right? Like you've made mention in the past around like American middle distance running is an absolute slosh mate.
And look how much I've helped by saying that.
Don't
You
even.
up the arse. When I said it,
you were not incorrect.
I was helping.
You were helping the case. You were there.
And I have. And the U.S. middle distance running has been incredible ever since. So
thank you. We should thank you as the American patriot you are, Josh Kerr. But I would argue and assemble. The fourth is the hardest for me. Because I think that what's up?
In history?
In today. So for you, right? Like when we're looking at Chris O'Hare, like he better be running under. I don't know, Chris, if you listen to this, hopefully you could run under 4:30 and really deliver that.
Right now?
Yeah, I'm saying right now in the era. Your dream team, I think, is respectable in Team Scotland. The dream team of Team Scotland, I respect it, and I know you have a lot of pride in that. I'm saying right now, active circuit in the era, you're probably not going to want it.
The best 4 miles in the world right now are me, Jakob, Cole, and Yard.
Okay, cool. But you're not going to say you want them on a 4x mile.
I just don't think they would agree to it.
Well, the good thing is this is completely theoretical, and the 2 listens of this episode is going to be Olivia and your mom, Jill. So shout out to the 2 listeners. But that is the team that I would assemble in you, Jared, Cole, and Jakob. Theoretically speaking, what would order be? Would you want to be the closer?
I mean, again, that goes down to time trialers too. Like when you add in racers, you have to add in Whiteman. But like if we're going pure time trial, yeah, those are your names. I mean,
does it pain you?
No, it really doesn't. And I have a lot of respect for the work that they must have to put in because I know how much work I put in. Like it's not anything to do with that. I think it's just like, I'm on a track right now, and all of us are going after the same goals. So it's not something that I'm looking to jump on a relay team with them. But I have a lot of respect for evidently the work that they put in.
House of Track doesn't have the appearance fee money, Josh, to bring this together, so it won't leave.
I think many people do. But I mean, again, that means that we're running solo, so everyone has to solo run. But I do think it would be competitive, and so it doesn't matter what leg you're on, to be honest. I mean, if I would say you would probably put me and Jakob on either 1 or 4. Yeah.
I mean, it would be wicked. I mean, like the thought that would cross everyone's mind from a time trial perspective, it would be difficult, but it's like, could they run under 15:20? Probably.
I mean, the question is, can we run under 15?
And that would be the craziest part because that's 3:45s across the board, which all of you would have.
You could run 3:45s
Solo?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you give us lights.
If you had wave lights, then you'd be like, can we break 15?
I mean, everyone needs to show, like, if we're peaking, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool. It'd be cool.
I mean, it would be hard.
Really, I mean, not for me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't look at it like a 4-mile race. You gotta figure your own laps out. But I think if you chucked us in London Stadium, it wouldn't, and gave us good weather. I think it could be. Yeah, it would be really hard, but it would be in the comfort. I mean, we're not going to run slower than 3:50. So
yeah, you're not going to run slower than 15:49. You guys are lucky to break 16, to be honest.
But to be fair, I mean, like that Ireland team, to do it in Ireland and have all Irish guys in there, and obviously we know Ray very well. I work with Ray, and so yeah, I think if that record was to be taken down, it needs to be taken down. I would say in the home country of those athletes.
That's cool. In the same way that the Brooks Beasts have the 4-mile indoor world record in New York City with Henry Wynn, Isaac Yorks, Brandon Kidder, and David Ribich.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. We didn't break 16, but it was pretty awesome.
It was 16 what, was it?
16:01, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had 2 slow legs.
Who were they?
Myself and Henry.
Oh,
to be fair, I was the first leg, and it got paced out funny, and then I was supposed to give the baton in second. That was my race strategy, so I did that. I was told to do that.
You were told to to
I was
get.
told to give it into a position so I'm not passing off in the lead, so we're not pacing the next team. Be in contention and be off the shoulder was my.
Give that moment back, man. We gotta run that one back.
Hey, luckily this isn't gonna make it out of post production, so
Back, man.
run it back.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, we were gonna go into some more banter, but I like to try to keep it around an hour. So at the end of every episode, I do want to give that time for the guest to kind of shout out anything that they've got working on. It could be a YouTube channel, it could be an upcoming race, it could be, for the first time ever, a world record attempt. But what do you have cooking in the lab? Is there anything specific or shout out that you want to give mention to kind of close out this episode?
Just want to shout out sit and kick, man. That's all I want to shout out. I think you gotta remember your roots. The same way that you gotta remember the way that you got to the races that you got to and the results that you're at in 2017 created 2026. I think we learned a lot. I think through podcasting, we were able to connect a lot through podcasting, and that was pretty awesome. And then Dave left me, which is fine, and now he's doing his own thing. So give him as much love as possible. From my side, yeah, I'm trying to show the raw look of what it takes to run a world record. I'll be having a YouTube series on that, and Brooks are doing a YouTube series on kind of what it takes from a brand perspective to get an athlete ready, and from a gear point of view, and spike testing and speed suit testing and the whole thing. So yeah, I'm trying to share as much as possible to stay transparent and connect with. If you want to do what I do, then yeah. So I've had a good time, Dave. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming to the podcast, Josh. You guys can follow Josh, I believe isn't it Josh H. Kerr? Isn't that your?
Yeah, so Josh Kerr was taken back when I joined Instagram. And so I felt like it sounded a bit like Josh Kerr. And that's what I came up with. My middle name is Alexander, so the H has no representative for me. Just looks the most like
The big
Josh.
idea guy himself. He can build the empire around a world record attempt, but his @name remains Josh Kerr.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna have to probably change that or buy a new one or something. I don't know what people do these days.
well, thank you for coming on, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Set.